Hi team, this is how to back up JSON settings using our GitHub repository. And part one, we discussed about how to add the GitHub repository into the local computer. So I'll be discussing also how to add the local repository. The GitHub repository, this one, to the local machine. So Let's get started. So again, you should have the GitHub desktop installed, and we have only one repo here, the luxury presence components. So this time we'll be adding this repository to our into our local machine, and this is how we should do it. So again, we will be cloning a repository from github.com. We need to take off the text or the local path there, existing local path. You cannot see all this setting since you don't have access to these repositories. This is my private repository, so I'll be you should see luxury presence ph under this, the luxury presence, not the components, because we already added this to our local repository. And let's select this one, and we need to choose the exact folder where we will be saving the repository. Again, we created this folder a while ago, and we'll be using this again to organize our GitHub repository. LP test, I'll be selecting, do not select this, else this will be saved under the luxury presence components. No, you don't want to do that, because it will create duplicate copy of this while saving JSON setting on the other repository. So let's select and clone. It will take I think minutes to clone the repository. While we're cloning this, let me just explain a bit of this and the use case of the luxury presence JSON backup. As the name implies, this is a backup system of our legacy platform. The legacy platform is this, and this is the version 2, or the V2 version 2 platform of our platform. This uses JSON settings. Yeah, we have the UI here. You can just easily interact. Change the settings and the values using the beautiful UI. You can just go to the navigate to the total video, and you can just change the setting here. And after saving the setting, then changes will reflect on the front end. So that's basically how the V2 works. But behind this UI, we also have the JSON setting. So this is the equivalent data uh, data here. Um, we have actually an existing logging setting. We can see all the logs here, view log. But as you can see, you cannot actually see all the settings, the changes since the creation of this website. So to patch the gap of this inconsistent log, uh, we'll be using the GitHub repository to track the changes from time to time. But this example is already migrated to V3 platform, but we will just use this as an example. So if you're working with any V2 platform, um, let me just go back to the GitHub repo, and we're done with this. Again, you don't need to use this to contribute to my repository, which is marcapiado slash luxury presence JSON. We will use this one and continue, and yeah, we have two repositories now. Currently selected is the luxury JSON, luxury presence JSON, and you can just switch back and forth from other repository to another repository. So in this case, we need to choose luxury presence JSON. Again, as always, before committing changes, saving changes from our local computer or repository to GitHub, we need always to um, fetch the changes. This means um, we're we're grabbing all the latest changes from the repository. I mean, from this repository to our local computer. So let's check if we have the luxury presence JSON under the LP test. Yeah, we have this successfully saved on our local computer, and the size of this file is 206 MB. It's quite big. Since we're saving, let me just go here. Let me navigate to the JSON file and the folders. By convention, as you can see, you can take a look at the naming convention. We need to use these folders to kind of separate or categorize the JSON setting per design. It would be easy for us to check whose clients are using a specific design, who are the clients under this design. So yeah, we have the bold design, and these are the clients. And classic, under this we have the clients, and so on. So yeah, the very purpose of this is to kind of track the changes, track the changes from on our using the JSON setting. So for example, let me go here. We can track the changes of, say, let's say this client. Let's say this client. Let me just check this client. And under this client, we can also check the history of the changes. Based on this, was created January 2021 by this VA, and changed by updated by this VA, and last changes or last update was January 25. We can see so we can track back the changes on this client. So that's the good thing, the good use case of GitHub repository. We can easily track every change. We can go back to, so basically, if you will go here, and this is the exact file or the JSON setting, or JSON settings, um, of this client last November 2020. So we can just copy this JSON setting and paste under this setting, and yeah, we can just go back or track back the changes. So how do we use it? Yeah, it's very easy. First is for Dalby group, for this client. Uh, let's check if this is an existing client. Under innovator, this should have JSON backup or JSON file. Dalby. It has no file. So let's verify. Let me just copy the domain and search. Enter. And we don't have an existing file. So what we should do is just grab, or I mean copy any any JSON file here, copy and Control V or paste. So this is now the copied or the duplicate file. So we will just replace this file name with the domain of this client. Copy and let's rename. Yeah, renaming it to dolbygroup.json. So again, this is not the exact JSON setting or JSON settings of this client. We just copied this file and rename it. So let's open it with code. And this is now the JSON code. You should check. You should be careful about in changing the files. This should be on this tab under jsondolby.com.json. Select this. Yeah, because we have no other files open. So we need to just copy. So we have to getaways here. Takeaways, I mean. So we need to, before we, example, if we have a task to change the, of course, this is a V3 client already. And this is just an example. If this client is on V2, version 2 platform, and he wants to change the text or anything on his website, all we have to do is before going to the homepage and before implementing the revisions. Example, we need to change the lifestyle image here. Before doing that, we need to create a backup copy of this JSON. So you can just go to, again, main. Under main, you have the actions button. Click on the actions button and JSON settings. You can just Control A to select all the settings. Take note, this has 3,000 lines of JSON code. Amazing. And you can just select all and copy. And again, we go to the VS Code. You can also select Control A and backspace to delete everything, just to be sure that we have an exact copy of this. Again, Control A, copy, and paste. Save. So this is now the first backup before you implemented the revision. And as you can see, this is now, you will have an idea if if the file is new, because it will suggest create this JSON backup. In this example, I'd like to use backup. And I mean, before implementing the revision, I should have a fresh backup. Commit the changes. I can push this change or this backup file, or I can just do it later. So what we need to do is, for example, you're done changing. Let me just say I changed the. Let's edit the video opacity from 15.15 to 0.18 and save it. Again, if you will try to uh, copy the JSON setting and paste it, we can override all the copy of this, all the JSON setting. Just to be sure, you can also, yeah, you're just overriding that content of this JSON setting or JSON file. Save. So you can see the exact change here. So to be explicit about what you did or what kind of revision you implemented. So what we did is change homepage video opacity. There you have it. Commit the changes. And yeah, we can push the changes. Pushing means we're just saving the changes uh, to our central repository. So we can just go to this repository and yeah, we can see now the history of the changes. If you go to the commits and yeah, we have the backup and the changes. So these are completely different version of this JSON setting. And this is how we use or backup JSON JSON settings from V2 to GitHub repository to our luxury presence JSON GitHub repository. In this way, we can track the uh, changes of our VAs. Like for example, you can just take a look at Miko's implementation and or Herlene's implementation, and we can just track back and forth the changes. Same thing again. You can just right click on this. You can just select. You can go to the history and you can navigate the live GitHub page. Yeah. So let me just revert this. Revert. Confirm. And this is basically it. So we're done with how to back up JSON settings using the GitHub repository. Thank you for listening.